Because we need to know, once and for all, who is Trevor Slattery?
What's going on, everyone? It's Semp. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking all about the Mandarin Shang-Chi, and most specifically the All Hail the King one-shot, which features the fake Mandarin from Iron Man 3, Trevor Slattery. If you're familiar with the podcast, you know the co-host Colin. If not, enjoy the video and become familiar. Subscribe if you like Marvel, the MCU comics, and everything in between. And other than that, let's get into the video. Let's go. Alright, so if you're unfamiliar, the All Hail the King one-shot, Marvel one-shots in general, they discontinued in what, 2013?
I think so. Right around that time.
This was the last one. So it came out in 2013, right after Thor: The Dark World, right?
Iron Man 3.
Okay.
Oh, but it's related to Iron Man 3.
Yeah, it's an Iron Man 3 thing. And so this was just added to Disney Plus. And so obviously, if you read the title of this, are Marvel one-shots officially canon? I would say yes. The fact that they definitely put this on, because things only go on to Disney Plus or are considered, canon if they're in that category of, Marvel or MCU project, I should say.
Agreed. And I don't think we can ignore the timing too. Just going into Shang-Chi and, we're going to be exploring Mandarin and the Ten Rings organization, it makes sense for them to release it now. I think this is a big step. I mean, other than we got a hint at it in the Agent Carter What If episode, we got the return of Bradley Whitford from that one shot. But this is basically confirmation that everything we've seen in this is completely canon in our base timeline. So let's talk about it.
So if you don't know exactly what All Hail the King is, first of all, we suggest that you go watch it, especially before Shang-Chi comes out this week.
It's short.
Fun fact, Ben Kingsley was at the premiere for Shang-Chi. Rumors are he's in the movie. So, take it as you will. This was just added. It's probably going to be shown. Now, within the short film, it's like 12 minutes long, 13 minutes if you include the credits.
Not too long. Like a YouTube video. Like this YouTube video.
Exactly. So basically what happens, obviously, Iron Man 3, he gets essentially taken away.
Sent to prison.
What happens is next within this short film. And so basically it's all about breaking Trevor out of Seagate to face the Mandarin, which is what I assume we're going to see. But the thing is, we don't know what time frame that is within the one shot.
It's my character in Iron Man 3 and what happens to Trevor Slattery after he's arrested. We look at him in prison where he's living a life of luxury.
Bloody hell. It's not exactly the Ritz, is it?
And he's being interviewed by the press. They're making a documentary on his life, which of course would suit Trevor down to the ground because he loves talking about himself. Who doesn't?
Yeah, and the important part here, in the part that we're exploring, is really the Ten Rings organization, what it means to the MCU, the fact that they've been around for this long, and obviously to, Trevor's being held at Seagate, which is a huge Easter egg in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we later see Justin Hammer there too. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this doesn't connect to Luke Cage and the Netflix series. I wish it did, but, Luke was held there too. But anyways, just visiting that prison in general is a huge step.
So the opening line of the one-shot says, "Come not between the dragon and his wrath." To me, if you've seen any of the Shang-Chi trailers, the Great Protector is in it, which I believe has something to do with the Ten Rings and where they're maybe not stored, I don't think, because I would assume that the Mandarin has them on at all times. I don't know. What do you think about that? A little parallel.
Looking back at it, it's really cool to see that, Kevin and the whole Marvel group were thinking about bringing dragons into the universe back then. Obviously, reading it, it's kind of, more of a metaphor, but now that we see the trailers and we see those big furry eyes, it makes more sense. Come for the Mandarin, you're coming for a dragon. So
You'll never see me coming.
And along with coming for the Mandarin too, I think it brings up a question about the MCU as a whole. Right, so the Ten Rings, if, like we said, this is canon now. The Ten Rings never went anywhere, but why haven't we heard about them? And so I think what you get from this one shot is that they're clearly not just terrorists that sit in like caves or where does Tony get captured? Do we know?
I don't even know. I feel like it's a made up area. It's somewhere in the Middle East. He gets captured by terrorists, and that's kind of how we see the Ten Rings organization. But based on this one shot, and now that it's canon, it's even more impactful. But based on the one shot, they're much more than, some terrorist cell group hiding in a cave with some rocket launchers.
And I think the trailers actually show that, because we get the skyscraper scene, and obviously it's going to be tied more to the Mandarin attacking or trying to get Shang-Chi to come back to him. But that still plays into the fact that there are sleeper agents like these guys in the one shot that are all over the globe, and some are, they seem to be American, so it can be anybody, right? It's not just a specific group of people or just the Mandarin's people.
And I think that's really interesting. It basically proves that they've been a behind-the-scenes spy group for the last, 20 years. When we look at Black Widow and we see kind of diving into the Red Room, I think we're going to get something very similar to that. And there's a lot of things in this one-shot that kind of prove how legit of an organization they are.
I don't know if you noticed on Trevor Slattery himself, because basically the entire one-shot is him pretending that he was an actor, which, he is an actor, which we saw in Iron Man 3. Yeah.
But he's got a fan club. That's the issue. He doesn't have a gang. He has a fan club.
He also has a tattoo, like you pointed out, of Cap's shield on his neck with an Avenger sign.
So that wasn't in Iron Man 3. So that means that that's a prison tattoo. So he's really buying into the whole prison of it all, I wonder what other tattoos he has. Maybe he has the Iron Man reactor on his chest. That would be sick.
That would be sick. Here's a question for you. Do you think that the snap allowed for the Mandarin and the Ten Rings to rise more into power with no one else there?
Ooh.
Like, why are we seeing them more now, right? Because we did get confirmation that Shang-Chi takes place after the blip.
Yeah, that was a big question. We were wondering if maybe we were going to get a mid-blip situation where they kind of gain power there. I would say the blip comes into this because we know Shang-Chi's kind of going on a hiatus away from his father. I think maybe the blip happens and he sends him away. I don't know if they rise to power then, but clearly by the time of the trailer, they're flying helicopters into this star-studded palace. So I wonder how deep their prominence goes. Does it go all the way back to Iron Man? Were they already that powerful, or did they gain power? It's a great question. I can't be sure, but I feel like based on the trailers too, and the fact that we see ancient lions like jumping off of shields and crap, like I really think that they've been powerful for as long as the MCU's existed.
Yeah, the timeline of this movie is a little weird too, in terms of Shang-Chi, like, because in the trailer he said I gave you 10 years like to go live your life.
Yeah.
Was he snapped? Was he not? Was the 10 years before or included? Like, does he know? You know what I mean? So that's a lot of questions that we're gonna have to get. I think the one main thing from the one shot too is, like, do the Wakandans know about him? Does the power broker, Sharon Carter, does she have any ties? Because it looks like it may take place partly in
Madripoor.
Yeah, it looks like it partially takes place in Madripoor. So obviously Sharon Carter being there, the Mandarin, do you think there's any connections?
I think we're going to find out that the Ten Rings have their claws sunk into Madripoor and that they've been there for a while. It's an Asian city. Makes sense. Just based on geographic location. But it will be interesting to see where they fit into the power structure of the MCU. Are they on a level of Wakanda? Or are they more of a, background general gang like the cartel? And I think I feel like they'll be one of those low-key organizations that's making their push for power, and that's where Shang-Chi comes in to, kind of slow that down, take the Ten Rings, take all their mythical power away. I'd be interested to see if in later seasons they kind of retroactively reference them, like, Okoye's like, we knew that the Ten Rings have existed all along, because if you look at the MCU, they're the oldest existing organization just based on the movies.
Yeah.
Like, they were there in Iron Man 1 in 2008. So they're going to have to fill in some gaps here. And I think you're right. We'll see where they fit in this MCU power structure.
I think another thing to talk about power level wise, I believe in a promo, I could be wrong, but there is dialogue that says these are the most powerful artifacts in the universe. And so you have to wonder, this is after the Infinity Stones, right? So are these truly the strongest and most powerful weapons right now in the universe or on Earth? And so if that's the case, then they are far beyond Wakandan tech and anything else.
I mean, it's interesting to see if it's going to be explained as alien tech, kind of like the vibranium deposit that landed on Wakanda.
Or even in the comics, the 10 rings came from, I forget the planet name, but they are alien.
Yeah.
And so they conform to the person wearing them. And so I know the MCU didn't want to do rings again, right? Because of the Infinity Stones. They kind of, not that they were rings, obviously, but
yeah. One of my favorite parts of that entire one shot is when the director of the so-called movie, who's interviewing Trevor, is basically telling him, "Hey, dude, we're about to kill you," even though he doesn't do it. But at the end of the one shot, it's implied that an entire basically brigade comes in to break him out of Seagate. And Seagate is a very highly secure prison where they're holding huge, like massive MCU villains, including Justin Hammer. But the fact that they could bring in special ops agents to come and pull him out alive just goes to show, like, even back then, the extent to which the organization had power.
I agree. So here's one last thing I want to ask you. Obviously, we see Justin Hammer in this. We haven't seen him since Iron Man 2. He's going to come back for what we presume is going to be Armor Wars. Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
I mean, I hope so. I think that's a huge miss. He's one of those characters that was great in a movie that is, I wouldn't say bad, but when you look at the whole of the MCU, kind of cluttered and, out of place.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a great return. I'd love to see some more scenes of him and Don Cheadle, because they hold one of the best scenes of all time in the MCU, which is the weapons scene where he's pulling out and he's trying to impress them, and it's just basically like a dick measuring contest for 5 minutes. And if I got another one of those, I'd die happy. So yes, I pray that Justin Hammer comes back then.
I like it. Anything else you want to talk about?
We're making this video because this one shot basically tells us where they're at.
Exactly.
At least 8 years ago.
Yep.
Before maybe Shang has just gone on his hiatus. It's just very important that they made this canon. Like, it was canon before this. It was assumed to be canon. But the fact that it's on Disney Plus, it's one of their banners. If you scroll through the banners on Disney Plus, you're going to find it.
Yeah, it's one of the main promotions right now.
They're not doing that for no reason. So if I were you, go on YouTube, look up Marvel one-shots, and just watch all of them. Because we're going to see all that stuff come back at one point in the future.
Yeah, and probably sooner than later too. So go check those out. Let us know your thoughts on this. Comment below. Follow me on Twitter at AnotherMarvelG for all news and updates. Subscribe to the channel. Drop a like. And other than that, we'll be back for some more. Just want to say thank you. I'm Another Marvel Guy, and we'll catch you on a blip.